Good day, everybody. Good day across Africa. Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to another powerful edition of our special International Women's Month LinkedIn Live series. Today's conversation focuses on a topic that is not only timely but essential to the future of our society. Across Africa and beyond, is no longer new. We are seeing increasing recognition that sustainable development cannot happen without the active participation and leadership of women. Yes, despite progress, some barriers still exist. In fact, many barriers still exist, from limited representation in decision-making spaces to unequal access to opportunities. So today, we have the honor to host a leader who is working at the forefront of changing this narrative. She is the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Women Trust Fund, which is an organization that is committed to increasing women's participation in governance, leadership, and nation building. Please, one and all, join me as I welcome Barrister Brenda Anugwom to today's live. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello, patients. Hello, everybody. It's great to be
Mhm.
here. Thank you.
Yes, it's great to have you too, ma'am. So, ma'am, we are really interested to learn from you, and we want to, of course, we're also curious because we know your story can inspire us, even even the men. You can also inspire them. So, we want to start with your leadership journey. What inspired your journey into leadership and development work?
Thank you so much, patience. If I have to be honest with you, I didn't start thinking I was going to take this route. Like we Africans have our parents always dictate to us either you're a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer. So I had the same thing because my father was particular about his five girls all being professionals. And he said, you have to study law. And I went ahead and studied
Oh,
law. But somehow, maybe fate or maybe the way the universe works, after studying law, I just found myself getting into development work immediately after youth service. And the work happens to be a capacity building of lawyers. So I got into an organization that had to apply for donor funding to train and retrain lawyers because we found out that lawyers just get called to the bar and they just start working and they don't take out time to go for courses, just to sharpen their minds and all. So that was just how it started. So while I was there, I noticed the disparity between men and women. When it comes to the positions they've held, or when it comes to who gets picked first, and all that. So that was when I now started saying, listen, this is an unfair uh, playing field. And for us to get fairness, we don't really have to sit on our hands. We need to get going, stand up and get going. So that was just how it all started. And from there to another NGO, from there to international organizations that took me to Central African Republic, Sudan, South Sudan, Ethiopia, United States, Sierra Leone, and finally back to Nigeria. And I've taken all that I have learned from all these places where I have worked and done projects at, and I've pushed them into pushing women forward. And of course, my personal objective aligns with a core objective of the Nigerian Women Trust Fund, which is, of course, to promote inclusive leadership. So for me, it's let's have a platform that will elevate women, that will push women, and will support women to get in there and stay there. So that's just how the journey started.
Indeed, it's one thing to open the door for women to get in, and it's another thing to leave the door open for more to come in.
Absolutely.
All right, we really appreciate your dedication, man. And
Thank
we also want to find out or want to know or learn from you what defining moments shaped your passion for women's empowerment.
So it was when I had done my globe trotting and then come back to Nigeria. I must say, I had always been a very timid person who's always afraid to speak or demand for what I should have. But then I, happened upon certain videos on YouTube, like you are on YouTube. I went on YouTube. I became interested in American politics. I noticed that, the DNC and the RNC, those, the congresses by the two major political parties there, are more about speaking. And then it started to interest me that mere words, people standing, speaking to crowds, that's all you need in that setting to convince voters to vote for you. And one that actually stuck to me was the 2004 DNC speech made by President Barack Obama, and that speech was a speech that actually launched him. So I learned how somebody being articulate and having charisma, how you could use those and turn a speech into an unforgettable event, because that was the speech that launched him to the world. And on that speech, he built his brand till he became president 4 years after. So from there, I started watching his wife speak. Of course, she's a very good speaker, Michelle. Then President Clinton, his wife, Secretary Clinton as well. And then I narrowed it down home. One of my favorite writers, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I started watching her interviews also on YouTube. And that was how my confidence got to where it is now. You can't believe it, but that's how it is. I saw them and I'm like, these are women, and these are women who are demanding what is theirs, and they're demanding for their platform because they deserve to have the platform. And then if they do, then so do I. So that's how it all started for me. That was for me my defining moment. US politics, how speaking can become a brand, how speaking can get you voted into office. And then, of course, you use speaking to stand your ground. So that's exactly how I started. Thank you.
Wow, that's really inspiring. I told you all that you are in for some wonderful learning experience. And for women out there, I think it's a very common thing. Women are always shy. I don't know if it's because of our upbringing, major upbringing here, where women are often silenced indirectly. So it's more like you're supposed to be quiet all the time. A woman shouldn't be talking and all that. So even when they're intelligent enough to find themselves in a choice career and venture, for them to speak out is a problem.
Yeah,
They keep
yeah,
battling this imposter syndrome. So
absolutely.
I hope for women like that, let your experience wake them up. They can do it. It's in them.
Sure.
Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Very, very experience, man. So what challenges early in your career have built your resilience as a leader?
So, the major challenge every woman faces in this country, on this part of the world, is socio-cultural factor. And you have actually hinted to it while you were speaking earlier, when you mentioned the way we were raised. Yeah, the way we were raised, things we were told. I can remember one time as a freshman at the university here in Nigeria, where I was told, no, you cannot speak in the classroom because if you speak, you may be noticed by one of the professors, a male professor, and that will ruin you. And then fast forward many years after, I started schooling in the US, and I found people saying, speak, say your mind, argue it out. And then I saw the difference between the two, um, the two worlds. So I'm like, you know what? I think it's better to speak because I have lived a life of not speaking and it got me nowhere. So I will continue to speak as long as it is for the good of the society, the good of women, good of children, especially girls. I will continue to speak. So sociocultural factors affect all women. You are branded something when you speak, or either you are too bossy or too aggressive. When you don't speak, some people call you, oh, that's the ideal women. Some people will call you, oh, that's a boring or dull person. So in life, I would advise anybody, do not let anybody's thinking of you or perception of you define who you are. You define who you are yourself. And the greatest challenge, like I mentioned, it's sociocultural, how we are raised, what our culture says, and how they always let you know, how they blackmail us to say, no one is going to marry you if you speak so much. Okay, let them don't. It's their loss. I will speak, okay? And then it still turned out to be a lie. So, I mean, look at Michelle. She's been married to her husband for more than 30 years. Look at Chimamanda. She's been married for more than a decade. And me too, married. So, it's not true that it's going to stop you from having your personal life. You can have both. You can have your professional life and your uh, personal life at the same time. Just balance it up, and that's all you need. So that sociocultural factor has been um, a stumbling block in the wheel of progress. But I must say that I noticed that standing my ground has helped me overcome the challenges. They're not completely gone. I still face them every day, but at least I know where I stand, and I know what I'm fighting for, and will continue fighting for it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a powerful word, real powerful word. The stereotypes are so much on women, and it's not a new thing. Not really a new thing.
No, no,
They
no.
always look
It's
for
it's
ways
it's been there
to
from the
gaslight.
beginning, and it will
Is
continue to be there. Hmm. Yeah.
mm, indeed. Okay, now this will take us to the reality of women in leadership. We want to really see what they face and some things that happens the backstage leadership. So this takes us to the second segment of this life, and we want to know why is women's representation still limited?
Sorry, I didn't get the last part of the question.
Okay, why is women's representation in leadership still limited? It's like, okay, my co-host is here
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
And
Okay. Oh, hi. Oh yeah, while she's coming up, I'll just answer it. I mean, it's like what we see every day. It's limited because we don't have the numbers. Why don't we have the numbers? We don't have the numbers, which we can also draw, dotted lines to socio-cultural factors. The society doesn't see a leader having the shape of a woman, and the society is made up of both male and female, and both male and female would rather support a man who they think carries everything a leader is supposed to have, including strength. But a woman wouldn't vote for another woman because she feels, "Oh, that's my fellow woman. I'm a very feeble, scared
mm,
person, So she should be as well. And they will have no confidence in you just because you're a woman. So, yes, we have fewer people in leadership because you are tagged a woman. And if you
Mm,
see women who are in leadership positions, if it's not because they have fought twice as much as men, it's because they were appointed. And if they're appointed, stereotypically, it will be, let's say, woman leader, minister for women affairs, or a junior minister, or something like that. If there are usually few senior ministers, and if you look at the National Assembly, at the Senate, just four women. These are women who worked twice as much. In fact, one had to fight all through last year, and she's still fighting to still stand her ground. And this is not fair, but that is exactly why. And then we do have situations where some people go through bullying or harassment, or even violence, because some men feel that they cannot share the space with women. And that was why we went ahead to push for additional seats. Said, okay, let's have additional seats so that we're not taking your seats, but let the additional seats be only for women so that we can have more women there. And of course, studies have shown that when you have more women in government or in leadership positions, development is faster. So it is actually for the good of this country. But look at where we are.
mm,
Still, either we are taking one step forward and or 10 steps backwards, or we're just stagnant, vibrating on the same spot. So that's the reason why. We just need to let people train and retrain our minds, and let people start seeing that a leader can be shaped like a woman. And a woman can be strong also.
mm,
Thank you.
mm. Oh, thank you, Timon. That's one disease that we have to really try to cure in the hearts of some women, many women in Africa. The fact that they cannot get something done doesn't mean that they should impose their limitations on another woman. Sometimes all it takes for a fellow woman to dislike your guts, so to say, is for you to take that leap, do something that they've never thought of doing. Is not really an encouraging thing for us to see, even out there in the corporate world. The corporate world is common. It's also common there, like a woman is due for a certain promotion, and if it is something that they have to vote them into a position, many of our female colleagues would rather vote for a less competent male colleague, as if there is something that they are dragging which no one knows about. That mindset needs to change. It's very limiting. It's really, really limiting. And is it part of the
Absolutely.
reason why
That's true.
women are badly treated? Okay, so what systemic barriers continue to hold women back? At least we already talked about some of the stereotypes and maybe some of their perceptual barriers. So now we want to know what systemic barriers, please, are continuing to hold women back.
So, I usually, when it comes to systemic, I used to tell people there is no system that is built in the clouds or by some fictitious Greek god. Every system is built by humans. In a situation where we've
Oh,
had
wow.
the system that has been occupied and controlled by a single set of people, it's usually difficult for them to want to share or even give up. And while you were talking, you alluded to the fact that women will not vote for other women, which I agree. But I don't think that the theory that they keep postulating, which is the fact that women hate women, I think that's a fallacy. I think that is, I think it's something that people come up with to pit women against each other. You know,
Exactly.
it's false to me. But the reason why I think women don't vote for women is not because we hate each other, but it's because we have been raised and trained to see ourselves to be more domestic than professional. And I'll give you an example. We had a
Mm.
program somewhere in a school, and we went to the school and we asked children to draw their parents, as you know, one of the um, activities we were doing there. And a girl child drew her parents, and I never forgot this image. The dad has got broad shoulders, looks like someone in a suit standing next to a car, because that's what she sees every morning. Dad is going to work. Then the next page where her mom is, a woman with something tied around her hair, holding a spoon, and there's a pot in front of her. Mom is in the kitchen cooking. So we've been socialized to see anybody shaped like a woman to be somewhere around the home front. So when you are socialized to do that, and then you now see that person coming to struggle for a professional role or a political role with a man that you have all your life been wired to see as a leader, as a fighter, you would definitely not vote for that person, even if that person is yourself. So that's why we are working on educating and re-educating people and asking them to learn and unlearn certain practices, because, and then start having a different mindset. Because the best way to know what a woman has done or can do is to look at examples. Look at the Scandinavian countries. They are very inclusive. They are some of the richest countries in the world. Look at when we had the COVID-19 epidemic. Oh,
Indeed.
sorry, pandemic. The countries that performed the best in terms of containing the virus and also safeguarding their countries, countries led by women. At that time, Angela Merkel was still the Chancellor of Germany. And we had other countries as well that had women. For instance, we had the Jacinda Ardern from New Zealand also. So if you look at precedents, see that women have already shown what they can do in other climes. What makes it difficult for us to believe that our own women can do the same here? And again, studies have shown over and over and over again that when a space is inclusive, you perform better, you move forward faster. So, why would you want to, or why would anybody want to jeopardize the development of a country or an organization just because they do not want another kind to be at the table? There's space for all of us. We can all be at the table. But representation matters because that ensures that no one is left behind. So, I mean, I can talk all and over and over and over and over about this, but that system, that systemic barrier is man-made. It's created by man. It's men have been dominating the leadership space, and somehow, maybe due to the masculine fear, there's something I call the masculine fear. They don't want to share the space. For me, there's some theory I made up. The masculine fear, the fear of being replaced. They feel if we
Mm.
let them in and they sit around the table with us, they can outperform us and maybe one day take over everyone. Who cares? What does it matter? When a woman succeeds, a whole community
Mm.
succeeds. But when a man succeeds, he
Yeah,
alone succeeds, and maybe the people he wants to succeed around him. So why don't you have the interest of the general public, at heart, so that everyone can benefit, rather than having the benefit be in the pockets of a few. So that's one thing I don't understand. If we have studied and studied and learned and seen evidence everywhere and elsewhere that women are doing so well, why then can't we allow women join or get to the table and also put in their own quota? So the
Mm.
systemic barrier is man-made. It's made to exclude because certain people feel that they could be replaced. So I feel the masculine fear could be responsible for the that structural barrier that we have all around us. Thank you.
I agree with you. It's just like what the colonial masters did way back. That was our pre-colonial era. They used or they employed this divide and conquer method because they know that if chances were given to some of the countries or the leaders in colonies where they were really ruling over them, they will be irrelevant. They did everything to fight to remain relevant as colonial masters. So that mentality, at least some of the methods, how limiting it was way back and avoided, but it's quite that the masculine fear is still right and it's even I think it even works in domestic settings, whereas men will do all they can not to allow their wives to progress. I feel that the headship remains as long as more advantage for her. So thanks so much for that insight, ma'am. You have a shout out. I can see you have a shout out from one of our viewers. Oh, he happens to be your learned colleague. This something
Yes.
about the lawyers are really jealous.
Oh yeah.
A big shout out
I'm also
to
saying
learned.
hi to my learned colleague.
Yeah, okay. So that's from YouTube. Okay, the internet issue that my co-hosts have been experiencing. I think she's trying to get her way back in, but she isn't fully in. We can't really cite her. So while she battles, let's continue. Oh, your learned colleague is like he has more. Okay, he left a message again. He left a message. Okay, how do we make women's leadership feel shared progress, not a threat to existing power structure in Africa's patriarchal system? Hmm.
But this is just what we talked
Surprisingly,
about. Yeah, this is just what we just talked about. The structure is patriarchal. The structure was created by men because they've been dominating the space and they don't want to let people in because they feel threatened. Because you can look at the question, it said, not a threat to existing power structures. That is why the bill is additional seats bill, not replacement bill. Additional, meaning hold on to your
yeah.
seats, but then let's add extra and just leave it only for women so that we have more women in the room. Representation is very key to development. Where you have exclusion, you usually have injustice and then underdevelopment. But where you have inclusion, you most of the time you have development, most of the time you have justice, rights protected. Again, I'm going to give example with the Scandinavian countries. They are very inclusive and look at their economy. Is there any man there who is screaming that, oh, I'm being beaten by women? I don't think so.
Hmm.
That is a group of countries where their citizens have scholarship up to university level. They're citizens. And the ones within the EU space, other citizens of other countries within the EU go there and get free education. And that is that's what happens when you are inclusive. If you look at countries, even countries on the continent, let's even take Rwanda, that is at the top when it comes to women representation in parliament. Look at the number of children that are literate. After the genocide,
Hmm.
look at how they have moved from 0 to 100 in terms of education. So, I mean, and a country that has an educated base is a country that has, certified or cemented their future or built a structure upon which their future will stand. And that usually is a bright future. Their children there are very learned. They're going to school. They speak well. They have confidence. They are articulate. And then you come to this country where you have more than 10 million children out of school, 60% of which are girls. What sort of future do you think we are building with such numbers? So, inclusive spaces are so positive. We need to stop seeing it as a threat, especially threat to patriarchy. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Maybe sequence to what you were saying. There is okay. So sequence to what you were saying. There is this. Okay, he made the comment about protocol to the African Charter. Okay, let me comment that we all the internet is just the making it difficult. So says it appears that some women in Africa aren't aware of protocol to the African Charter on the Rights of Women in Africa. What steps are you and your organization taking to create awareness of this law?
Okay, so it's not only women that are not aware of the Maputo Protocol, even men as well. In this society, in this part of the world, and I'm using Nigeria as an example, so many people are not aware of their rights because they are not aware of the laws that protect their rights. So this Maputo Protocol has been out there. We have been teaching, should I use the term teaching or training young women? We've had this program going on for the past 5 years where we give young women between the ages of 18 to 35 leadership training. So in every batch, there's usually a training on the protocols. Of course, we take them through the Beijing conference, all the conferences on women, and especially rights, and then, of course, the Maputo Protocol. But what you should be asking is why is it that our government is not aware of the Maputo Protocol? Because if they are aware, they should know that inclusive governance is actually what we need to practice in this country. Instead, we have a situation where we have very few women in leadership, both elective and appointive positions. So, yes, when we run those leadership programs, we train the women to understand that there is this protocol that African countries have signed. And of course, Nigeria, as you know, we have this dual legal system. If they sign an international instrument, they have to come home and domesticate it through an act of the National Assembly before it becomes before it has the force of law. So I think the question should be why is it that our leaders seem to ignore that there is a Maputo protocol? Thank you.
Indeed. Okay, so the question that was asked by him brought one thing to mind. It brought the question I had in mind to ask is more about the Nigerian Women Trust Fund. You are the CEO of this reputable organization. We want to know what is the mission of the Nigerian Women Trust Fund.
Sorry, the
So you
question,
can
what
spell it
is
out
the,
clearly. The mission of the Nigerian Women Trust Fund, because we know it is under your leadership.
yeah. So our mission is to promote inclusive governance. And that's just one sentence I'll make. When you go to our website and you see what everything we've written there, put it all together, it's simply just saying we want inclusive spaces in leadership. So if we have more people in government, more women in government, that's what we are working towards. If we have more leaders in private sector, that's also what we are looking forward to. For instance, you see our banks now have a lot of female CEO, and we hope more banks will toe that line and be allowing women to get in. So inclusive spaces, that is just what we want. We're actually set up to ensure that the spaces, leadership spaces, are inclusive.
Indeed. Okay. That's laudable. That's a very laudable initiative. So, Mark, can you share with us a success story that shows the impact of work at the Nigerian Women Trust Fund?
So, I mean, it depends on what you see as success. Every time we make an impact on the life of a young woman or any woman, I see that as success. And I just mentioned here that for the past 5 years, we have been training young women in leadership so that wherever they are, they can aspire for leadership, whether they're in public sector or in private sector. So, but one I can mention is just one that happened in December. We also targeted the same demographic, 18 to 35, women who are interested in running for office. And we also had a leadership training for them and call it like a preparatory class so that they can actually go back and think, are we ready? Is this what we want? What are the next steps? How do we actually get into this political space? And after that training, 100%, and I mean all of them, registered with political parties in the country. I mean, not one political, but the political parties that they feel that speak their language or they align with their values or objectives. And I see that as a success because we don't only want to be seen, we want to participate. So you register as a member of a political party, you want to run for office. That's how it's done. You start with a political party because that's what the law says. You want to run for office, you have to stand on the platform of a political party. So these young women are hell bent in ensuring that they get to somewhere, even if they don't win. Now, out of that 100% that registered with political parties, 30% contested during the FCT elections. Yes, they didn't win, but they participated. So if you want to stir change, if you want to change something, if you want to dismantle what this a structure that doesn't work, you participate, you keep trying, you don't sit on your hands. So that for me was a success. Having them register for register with political parties and having them participate. And some of them are gearing up for primaries coming up in a few months, or I think next month, April. I think that's when it's primary. Some primaries will be held. So it's success for me. Participate, be seen. Even if you don't get it this time, you try and try and try again because one day you will succeed. Thank you.
All right, very well, ma'am. Thanks so much. So how does women's leadership directly impact national development? Since women are being encouraged to go in, be involved, and all that, so how would their leadership directly impact national development?
Yeah, I've just told you that there are studies that have shown that where you have more women at the table, development is faster. And I've given you an example of the Scandinavian countries. They are some of the richest countries in the world. They give aid to Africa. Nigeria receives aid from, Sweden and the rest of them. So it's been proven that inclusive spaces have more inclination to development. So there's evidence, there's proof, there are studies to show that. So where you have seen all these things, what more do you need? Especially as you have seen that we have had only men be president since we embraced democracy from 1999. Let's forget about before 1999. And yet, where are we? So if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and it's not getting better, why not change it a little bit? Why not embrace change? Why not take the lead, or should I say, take example from what others who have done something and succeeded have done? Recently, Ghana passed their act, a law to ensure that they have more women in governance. Why do you think Ghana did that? They're doing it because they know we have to be intentional about adding more women so that we can develop. Senegal passed the gender parity law a long time ago, and you can see the numbers have improved, the numbers in terms of equitable representation in their parliament. Ghana had to pass it because they saw the need, they saw the gain. So that's why we were hoping that the reserved seats bill would have been passed last year. Until now, we are still waiting. But we are hopeful, and we hope that even if at the national level they don't pass the bill, perhaps the state assemblies can pass, reserved seats law at the state level. And let's see if that will, find its way up. Thank you.
And ma'am, funny enough, even at the state level, the representation of women is really low. Some states don't even have any woman at all. So how would the law be passed? Well, we
That's
don't
what
want to
I'm
sound like a
saying.
broken record.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Ghana was intentional. Senegal was intentional.
Mm,
We need to be intentional. So if we have seen evidence that when the space is inclusive, we will move forward, we will develop, hunger will reduce. So why don't we want to do it? So, because even those men who are all of the state houses of assembly, they also see what is going on. They also see how hungry people are. They also see how angry people are. They also see what
yeah,
insecurity is doing to all of us. So, why don't they just
yeah.
come out and say, yes, we are representing the people. And because we're representing the people, we want development. And if we want development, let's get more women at the table. So let them be intentional about passing the law. So that's what I'm saying. Yes, they are all men. The people who passed the law in Ghana, mostly men as well. They're not. They weren't all women. And in Senegal, it was President Wad that signed it, a man.
Yes.
Ghana, I think it was the president before John Mahama, Akufo Addo, that signed it, a man. In Rwanda, it's the current president that made it possible for more women to be in parliament. A man. So men are letting women in. What is stopping Nigerian men? Thank you.
Hmm. Nigerian men listening. Okay, so you can do well to tell us. You know best. You know the reason why. Okay, we have a comment from YouTube again. Okay, thank you, Brenda, for your response. I love the Rwanda and Scandinavian examples about inclusivity. I also appreciate your vast trainings with respect to the various laws. Okay, taken. All right. So now, with this in mind, we have to like think of something. We have to think something futuristic. The current generation have been fighting, fighting, fighting. There's even a possibility that this current generation of women in leadership may be building or planting a tree that they may not even sit under its shade in future. It's very possible because the fight is a very tough one. We can see. So now, talking about empowering the next generation, what can young women do today to prepare for leadership roles?
Thank you for that good question. And again, that's why I talked about what my organization has been doing. Those women who apply for the leadership courses and come and take courses, come and get trained, come and mingle with other women, they are doing exactly what they should do. So, but then if you cannot or you don't have the opportunity, because you can't train all women in Nigeria, if you don't have the
Mm,
opportunity of being selected for any of the training, why don't you do like I do? Remember, I mentioned to you that I happened upon a YouTube video, and since then, I have been going to YouTube looking for videos of these women who inspire me from the way they speak, the way they command the audience, from what they talk about, the substance. And I use that to, give myself like a benchmark and say, why don't you try and get to this level? And then when I get to that level, I feel I'm there. I set another standard for myself. Why don't you try and get to this level? I do that and I keep going. So if you don't have the opportunity of having a formal training, train yourself. And also join mentorship programs. There are mentorship programs that are formal, and then some of them are informal. If you can align with any of the women leaders we have in this country, except that sometimes they are unreachable. But if you can reach any
yeah.
of them, ask if you could, hang around them, learn the ropes from them, and become their mentee. That also
Mm,
helps. And which is also, I'm just using this opportunity to also throw the towel in to older women who are already in positions. It's time to pass it down. They always say, pass it forward. So this time, pass it down to the next generation. You need to
mm,
become mentors. Take up young people, coach them, mentor them, so that at the time when the space no longer, because it's the law of nature, one day the space will not need us, but the younger ones coming up will occupy the space. So that the day nature doesn't need you in the space, the people you've mentored or trained can carry your good work and continue with
mm,
it. So yeah, so if they don't get
mm.
training, formal training, they should, you know, do the self-help thing by looking for people they admire and learn from them, or just approach people who are already in leadership positions and get mentorship. Thank you.
Indeed, yes, you're welcome, ma'am. Talking about young women approaching these older women for them to be trained and mentored and the like. If that zeal is not there, or if that motivation, because motivation is an inside job, others may inspire you, but you have to motivate yourself. At least that's one. I don't know. So if you don't make that move, I don't think that would be possible. That would be attainable. Possible. Would that be the case for these young men who live in today's world? What skills should they acquire? What is more critical for them?
You're talking about the kind of skills that they need to acquire. Okay, so yeah, if you're talking about skills, I'll take you back also to what we discussed earlier when I mentioned that I learned from watching the DNC and the RNC that being articulate and having charisma can turn an ordinary speech into an unforgettable moment. So, first of all, you have to learn how to convince people. So you have to speak. I mean, the actions, they say, speaks louder than words. So if you can speak, you can back it up with your actions.
Mm,
You engage with your community, you do community service, get people to start knowing you, seeing what you've done, and they will support you when the time comes. Except that we run money politics in Nigeria. But I still do believe that there are some good people in this country who believe that merit, meritocracy should be what should guide us and not money. So, yeah, acquire the skill of speaking, back it up with action. Also, like I said, get mentored, align yourself with people who are already there so that they can show you the ropes. Then again, ensure that you do a lot of community work, work that takes you door to door. Because when you touch the lives of people, irrespective of how bad they are, they will never forget you. Thank you.
Mhm. You're welcome, ma'am. We have should I say, more like a kind of hilarious moment here. I love that question. What is stopping Nigerian men? I am also a Nigerian man, but if you ask me now who I go ask, seriously speaking, I am also asking the same question, even though I am where. All right, thank you so much for that submission. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so we thank you so much, Barrister Brenda Anugwom, for your time with us, your deeply enriching conversation with us on this live day. As we gradually come to the end or the close of this year's International Women's Month, it has been a wonderful time. Women, ordinarily 1 month is not enough for us, but no problem. We'll manage this one for now. Perhaps a bill will be passed next for 3 months to be dedicated to women. All right, so our discussions more timely or important. I'm sure my audience agree. Of course they do. So, in line with the International Women's Day theme for this year, which is Give to Gain, let's be sensitized that progress is not accidental, but it is something that is built through what we are willing to give. So, be it giving our time, our voice, or our support. And in doing so, we gain stronger institutions, inclusive leadership, and a more equitable society. It's not too much to ask, is it? It's not. So, from today, please, everyone listening in, let's try to ask ourselves, what can I give? Who can I support? Especially when you think about the woman next to you. What door can I open for someone? What and which doors should I leave open for more persons, for more women out there? Because the future we all desire will not be built by intention alone. It's not all about being intentional. No way. It will be built by contribution. So once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your timely insights and your continued commitment to advancing women's leadership and development. You are really a gem. You are a rare gem in our society.
Thank
And
you.
in fact, you must be protected by all means. All right, so our audience, indeed. Okay, so our audience, thank you so much for being part of this important
Thank you.
conversation. Those who contributed, we appreciate you. And in fact, we thank you even more for your continued support all through this month, in particular, supporting the cause of women and sharing them on, encouraging them, as well as being inspired. So we are sure you will have gained so much value and inspiration from all our amazing female guests this month. So until next time, I would say stay inspired. And remember that when we give it peppers, we gain. Have a wonderful,
Yes.
very productive week ahead, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patience. Thank you, viewers. Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.